Well, good morning. It's Rob Ryder on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. And today, holy moly, systems of records for veterans and you. Did you know that the federal government takes records and put them together in groups and calls them systems of records? And as it turns out, these are systems of records then have a notice that they exist. And so it's called a systems of records notice, SORN. And those are published in the Federal Register. And if you read what they have to say, they'll tell you what types of records are kept in there and who to contact to get a copy under the Privacy Act, and then what to do to make a change. Now, whether they're going to do what it says to do is yet to be seen. I'm just pointing out what I found and what it says. And I'm trying it right now, and I'll show you what I'm doing. But why it's so interesting for veterans is they have a whole system of records where the data itself comes from the DOD. It has nothing to do whatsoever with data from the VA. It comes from the DOD that the VA then uses in its various platforms, or whatever the proper term would be for whatever they do. So, so what's that all about? Well, one of the things is if you can change that information through this system of records way instead of trying to go to the Army Records Agency to get them changed, it just takes for frickin' ever. And plus, we don't really know what's wrong with our records because we never get to see the whole thing. And I think that this is going to show us a lot more in a record than we had seen before. Now, this isn't just for the VA. Any federal agency that keeps records on people has to put them in a system of records and then file a notice. So like the Social Security, they have the same type of thing. And so we'll take a look at those too. But I'm mainly going to focus on this thing to do with veterans. And then after I had a chance to look and see some of these other ones, I'll probably do another video on some of the other styles. But so let's see what we have. I am Staff Sergeant Retluski Robert Allen. Did you know that's your full name? Retluski, Robert Allen. That your full name is your surname and your first and middle name. But when you use your surname, you put it at the front instead of a last name when you put it at the end. Retluski, Robert Allen, full name. DOD ID number 12112800006, also known as Rob Ryder. Email address is quarterrecord@aol.com, and you can find my videos on Rob Ryder on YouTube, but you got to put 3 B's in, ROBBBRYDER. I want to point this out again about this full name, right, that Retluski, Robert Allen, because this is the name of an enlistee when they go to the MEP station and they start filling out paperwork. Wherever the DD Form 4 starts to get filled out. Right, that, and there's a DD Form 1966, I think. And, when they identify you, they put your last name first, comma, and then your first name. They don't put a comma between Robert and Allen to say it's a first name, middle name. They just put it as a first name. And if you look at the box above, it's got, there's, last, comma, first, comma, middle. So if there's no comma between Robert and Allen, then Robert Allen must be my first name, which I've been saying for years. But for those who didn't know that, well, there you go, right? Because if you don't have a middle initial or a middle name, then you cannot have a middle initial. This is one of the things they do is they steal our identity and they turn Robert Allen into Robert A. And then they call the A middle initial. And, they scramble your name and your identity. They give you a civil disability, in other words, right? They took your name from you. So, but that's the name you went, that you went in the military with, and that's the name on your DD-214. Then why is it that they have all these other styles and names that they use for you in the military? So when I went in as Retluski Robert Allen, but every order I ever got was Retluski, Robert A. Until I got out, and then I got a DD-214 for Retluski, Robert Allen. And a copy of that goes to the VA, so that's what they're supposed to be using. But when I get mail from the VA, it's got Retluski, it's got Retluski Robert A. It's got sometimes Robert A. Rutluski. Right? Where do these names come from? They only had the one. They got the DD-214 from the DOD, and that's what they're supposed to be using to identify you. So there's all, these errors exist in the records, and so if you can get these records, get those errors fixed, then maybe that undoes the logjam, and you'll find out that you have benefits coming to you that you didn't know you had, and because somebody else is taking them, using your name. I don't know, can't tell because I can't get the records. And then they tell you, well, go to this Army Records Agency to fix your records, but if you don't have the records to look at, how do you know what's wrong? Now, these are definitely different records than you get when you get your official military personnel file, because they're supposed to have things to do with your pay in there. P-A-Y, pay. Right? Well, those aren't in your official records. They're in another set of records that they talk about that I can't remember the name of it at this moment, but we're not seeing the complete picture, so we don't know what to do to fix our civil disability caused by the fact that there's an error in records. Instead of Rutluski, Robert Allen being on every record, they got 4 or 5 different names being on different records. So if you're searching by names for records, you're not going to find the other records that would have to do with you. Anyways, that's what we're going to be talking about. So give me a second, and I'll load up a few things here. Hang on. Okay, so here's a few examples. Right, these are just different letters I've gotten over the years from the VA, and right, this one's to Robert A. Rutluski. Now again, the only name they should have for me is Rutluski, Robert Allen. That's the enlistee's name. That's the name of my DD-214. That's the name, and that DD-214 was given to the VA. Right, they get their own copy, so they have it. But why they got Robert A. Rutluski? Where'd he come from? And who's Riddle, Robert A. Right, and then they had this CSS number, whatever that stands for. But it's basically my Social Security number with spaces, where they should be, but there's no dashes. And other places they have just all your numbers run together. And they don't call it a CSS; they call it something else. But still, it's your Social Security number. Right, and yeah, so that's about it. Right, each page had the CSS number and Riddle RA. Well, I thought it was for Robert A. Rutluski. How come you're saying it's this guy now? I don't know. You think, okay, well, that's just one. That's okay. Well, in this case, they're both the same. And now it's called a file number, and it's my Social Security number, but it doesn't have dashes in it. And I don't want to show it because I get in trouble. But I think this one's just run together, right? You just say, go look at your paperwork and start laying them next to each other, vet, and you'll see, they using your name differently in different places. All right, this one's all Robert A. Okay. Here's Robert A. again. Now it's R.A. Riddle. Before it was Riddle, R.A. And now it doesn't say it's a file number, CSS number, but it still has my Social Security digits in some form there, for a different name. Again and again and again. Now, these are all for different things, so it's like, well, whatever data they're using for this style of letter is coming from a different place than data used for a different style of letter, because they don't have the same header and don't have the same name on them, and so forth. Right, now here's one for Robert Allen Rutluski. Well, isn't that nice? I do exist. Except then they call me Dear Robert Rutluski. Well, I thought you just said it was Robert Allen. Sure enough, I'll call it a file number, Social Security number with no dashes, right? Just 9 digits run together for Rutluski, Robert Allen. Now it's Robert Allen Rutluski. Now it's Robert Rutluski again. Same thing. Maybe I just did that one second time. We'll do it kind of out of order, and just to show you how they mail them, right? That Rutluski A and Robert Allen Rutluski. Both of these came from the VA. Kind of laid them on top of each other. But they're both from the same place, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they have 2 different addresses on them. Well, guess what? Social Security does the same thing, where I've gotten mail before for Robert Allen Rutluski and Robert A. Rutluski. Apparently, there's an error in the record somewhere, and here's the evidence. Now, I don't know what record it is. It just showed up in my mail, but if you could get the system of records that has this kind of information in it, you'd be able to find, well, here it is right here in this record, and tell them that you want to have that fixed. It sounds easy. Right here again, I want to show page 11. Okay, so we'll go down. All right, so this one's written to Robert Allen Rutluski, but now it's Rutluski, Robert A. Where'd he come from? Right, now that's the name that is on most of my orders, but that's beside the point. Oh, okay. And then here it was a decision on a claim I put in, and now it's just Robert Rutluski. So it was, you got Robert Rutluski, you got Robert Allen Rutluski, you got Robert A. Rutluski, or Rutluski, Robert A., and they're all in the same record. They're all in the same mailing that came to me. What we got here? Oh, there's that. Must be the one like one of the ones I just showed for the mailing, right? That this is what would show up in the window. Robert A. Rutluski. But the veteran's name is Rutluski, Robert, Allen. Well, no, it isn't. There's no comma between Robert and Allen. Well, in this letter they said there was. So, there's another group of data that's, associated with Rutluski, Robert, Allen, and data for Robert A. Rutluski and Rutluski, Robert A. and Rutluski, Robert Allen and Robert Rutluski. Seemed to be a problem. And there's Robert A. again, but hey, Rutluski, Robert Allen. So you can see what I'm saying, right? There are errors in the records, and they call your claim number, right? Your VA claim number, which is actually your SSN. They just don't have no dashes in it. So sometimes they take the dashes out, leave the spaces. Sometimes they put it all together. Sometimes they put a different name with one and the other, or they put some, they don't call it a file number, they call it a CSS number, or whatever the hell they're going to do, but none of these are the same, so they're different. And we have to get the differences fixed. There should only be one set of records for you because there's only one of you in the military that served in the military. So anyways, having known this, some time ago now, it's been a couple, 3 months, I did a video about 31 U.S.C. 3702, where you could complain to the Secretary of Defense about military pay that you're owed, military pay issues. And I'm saying that, I've gotten my records before from archives, wherever they come from, the National Record Center, and there's no discharge order in there. Right, there's a DD-214. Now, mine I didn't sign, but there is a document called DD-214 in there, Rutluski, Robert Allen, but there's no discharge order. And so if you look at your DD-214, it'll tell you, in fact, I'll pull one up here in just a second. Right, Rutluski, Robert Allen. And if you come down here, you'll have this separation authority. And if you find this, right, it's for the Army, it's quite easy. Just in my case, Google AR 635-200 and a copy will appear on your screen. Chapter 4 is what, all that's what applied to me. But in all that, you'll find out, well, there should be a discharge order. Or maybe they call it a separation order. I think it's called separation order. Right? So I've never been separated from the custody and control of the military. And neither have you if you've ever served. And so because of that, on your original contract with the military, the DD Form 4, the enlistment, re-enlistment document, Armed Forces of the United States document, that has the oath on that you took and that you subscribed, and then the officer subscribed, and boom, you have a contract with the military. Right? That it has Rutluski, Robert A. on it. Robert Allen. Right? And that should be the name that's being used, but it's not being used. Well, come to find out my case, the separation code JBK has a disability attached to it, where it would say that if you have JBK as a separation code, you can't reenlist. Even though my reenlistment code is RE1A, when you look that up, it says, well, no, you can reenlist anytime you wanted to. I wanted to mention, back to the DD Form 4. Well, on your DD Form 4, in your agreement, it says that as long as you're enlisted, you're supposed to get paid. And now I found this, system of records we're going to see where it says, well, they're supposed to have pay records in there. So I really want to see what it has to say. Hang on again. Okay, so anyways, back to this. So I filed a complaint, or claim, I guess you would call it, to the Secretary of Defense, the way it said to do, through the thing, found the information, did exactly what it said to do. And I had sent it priority mail so I could track it. And it got intercepted at a post office other than the zip code post office or postal facility that it was supposed to have been mailed to. Right? Just disappeared. It shows that somebody came and picked it up. They have the notes in there that somebody from here came and picked it up. But that isn't what it said to do. It said to deliver it to that, zip code. It never got delivered to the zip code. So, as it turned out in this particular law, which is a derivative of some statute at large, in the statute at large, it said that you could also complain to the Comptroller General at the General Accounting Office. So I tried to do that also. And the same thing happened, where it never really got delivered, and I still haven't heard anything from either of these. It's like, what the hell's going on? So I said, okay, well, what am I going to do? And I thought about it for that. So let's go look at the VA Office of General Counsel, right, to find out what's going on with these various records. And because I had found out, as I just showed you, we have all these different names on our records. I said, you know what? You're supposed to be able to get unemployability for a service-connected disability. Okay, well, if you look at the definition of disability, having a legal disability is a disability, just like having a physical disability is a disability. And we have a legal disability because we have all these records that have different names on them. So I tried to complain to the some claims person following the CFR. Said that that really all a veteran needs to claim unemployability is their unsworn statement or unsupported statement. Right? That you should be able to write, say, hey, I'm unemployable, and blah, blah, blah. And then, they could give you this extra scheduler rating or ruling and give you unemployability. So you don't have to be, 70% physically disabled or mentally disabled or, it's supposed to be 100%, but you can get it down as low as 70. But technically, there is no value whatsoever that you have to have. You just tell them you're unemployable. I want to show that to you. So in 38 CFR 4.16, CFR Code of Federal Regulations, it says, it talks about getting a total disability rating for compensation based on unemployability of individual. All right. If there's only one such disability must be rateable at 60%. If there's two or more, 140, combination 70. But then it goes on to say, it's the established policy of the Department of Veterans Affairs that all veterans who are unable to secure and follow substantially gainful occupation by reason of service-connected disabilities shall be rated totally disabled. Okay, therefore, rating boards should submit Director of Compensation Services for extra scheduler consideration all cases of veterans who are unemployable for reasons of service-connected disabilities, but who fail to meet the percentage standards set forth in paragraph A of this section. So, Rutluski, Robert Allen is the veteran, but if in my Social Security records, it's Robert A. Rutluski. So apparently, Rutluski, Robert Allen's never been able to work. Right? I'm just following their rules. Okay, then I'm going to complain about it and send something to this director, which is what I tried to do. And that was based on this right here that says, this is out of a manual that the VA uses, 21 M21-1MR, general information on determining unemployability, where it says right here that in many instances, the veteran's unsupported statement will be enough evidence to establish unemployability. Didn't say anything about having any kind of, percentage of disability. In many instances, the veteran's unsupported statement will be enough evidence to establish unemployability. So, I was trying to contact that director to have him do something, and so I sent something to them also at the same time I did the one with the Army and so forth. And I didn't hear anything. So that's when I said, okay, well, let me go look over here in the Office of General Counsel and find out why my letter didn't make it to the guy and why I haven't heard from him. And, I was going to bitch a little bit. So when I got to the site, I saw this thing that said Privacy Act System of Records. Right? And I had seen these systems of records before, right? But I hadn't really said, oh, that's Privacy Act System of Records. So let's go look at that and see what that says. And it says a system of records is a group of any records under the control of an agency for which information is retrieved by the name of an individual or by some identifying number, symbol, or other identifier assigned to the individual. The Privacy Act requires federal agencies to maintain a system of records. Maintain a system of records to publish a notice, commonly referred to as a System of Records Notices, or SORN, in the Federal Register, identifying the purpose for which the information about the individual is collected, what type of information is being collected, how the information is shared, and what an individual must do if they want to access or amend any record maintained about them. Right? Because we have administrative errors in records that are keeping us from getting our full entitlements. And then, so you saw what I did, Bet. You can just go to the Office of General Counsel for the VA and find this. Go back one page real quick. Right? Office of General Counsel. Come here, Privacy Act, System of Records. Click on it. Read down here, then you're going to want to expand this because it only shows 10, and what we want is a little bit deeper into the thing. But just to show you how it all came together, so down here, so I'm kind of going through these to see what's in there, and I saw Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, Identity, Repository. This system of records is an electronic repository of all of military personnel's military history, payroll information, and their dependents data provided to VA by the Department of Defense Manpower Data Center. The VADR database repository is used in conjunction with other applications across VA business lines to provide electronic consolidated view of comprehensive eligibility and benefits utilization data from across the VA and Department of Defense. Well, that's interesting as heck. And then these names over here are the people that are responsible for each of these systems of records. And then if you come over here, you have this hyperlink you can go to. You click on the hyperlink. And it takes you to this, this section out of the Federal Register, Volume 87. And then we'll be talking about this right here. This Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, Identity Repository, the VADR. And then it gives us this number. So this number here, this 13, where are you? Find this one. 138 VA 005Q, that's the actual System of Records number. Right? And that came from clicking on this here. So to show you, because there's more than one that could be of interest in here, another one they had was, what the heck was it called? Compensation. That's what it was. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope. There we go. Compensation, pension, education, vocational rehabilitation. Da, 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 da. This system contains records relating to the administration of claims of veterans, service members, reservists, their spouses, dependents for a wide variety of federal benefits. So, if you want to find out what's happening on the other side of the fence, you might have to get a copy of this to see what it is they've been doing with whatever it is you sent in while you're waiting for them to do something. And they say, oh, well, we had to put it in this file over here waiting for something because there's an error in the record. We're waiting for it to get fixed. It never got fixed. Whatever their excuse is, right? And you click on this. And I do the same thing. Takes you to the system of records. And just to show you real quick, I'm not going to get into these today, but if you have an agency that you're interested, they have records. Just put in System of Records and whatever the agency name is. In this case, System of Records, Social Security Administration. Privacy Act, System of Records, notices. Right? So this is what the Social Security has, right? So all of these records are available. If they have something in there that have to do with you, you can get a copy of it. Right? So, and they had one here about like this. Master file, Social Security number, holders, and Social Security applications. So that would be good to see. Right? Because you put in a form. You fill out a form, it's SS5 form, you send it to them, and then they take that form and they put the information in the computer. Well, somebody made an error at that point. That error stays in the record forever until you go look at it. Right? So I don't know what else is in there. Like I said, I haven't gone into it yet, but there you are, right? That it's just another agency keeping records on you, and any agency that keeps records is supposed to keep a system of records. And so put into your search engine system of records and whatever agency you're looking for. And, download the PDF. Oh, I guess I didn't show that. Just real quick. On this one, right? Because they're right here. So then you would click on these things here. And we'll just click on one to see where it takes us. And that's going to take you to a system of records for Federal Register. So it works the same for both. But for today, I'm going to stick with the veteran stuff. And we're going to look and see what they had to say inside of the document. Hang on a second. Okay, so pursuant to the Privacy Act, this is the important thing. It's pursuant to the Privacy Act. Notice is hereby given the Department of Veterans Affairs is modifying system of records entitled, right, Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, Identity Repository, VADER, -VA with this number, 138VA005Q. Right? This system of records is an electronic repository of military personnel's military history, payroll, information, and their dependents data provided to VA by the Department of Defense Manpower Data Center. VADER database repository is used in conjunction with other applications across VA business lines to provide an electronic consolidated view of comprehensive eligibility and benefit utilization data from across VA and Department of Defense. VA applications use the VADER database to retrieve profile data as well as address military history and information on compensation and benefits, disabilities, and dependents. Well, isn't that something? Routine use allows VA to enter into computer match agreements with other agencies to determine or verify eligibility of veterans receiving. So, right, they can verify the information once we point it out to them. Who the signing authority is, and then system name and number. So there's the name and the number. System manager, which in this case, and this one's important because it actually gives the guy's name as the project manager and his email address. And we'll find out later in this that it says, well, if you want to find out about getting your information and how to make changes, you should contact the system manager, which I did. I emailed Alex on Friday. And we had a couple of emails back and forth, and then somebody contacted me yesterday. And it wasn't him, it was one of his people contacted me, and they were trying to make it sound like what I was asking for was freedom of information stuff. And but once he understood it was Privacy Act, he had to go back and talk to Alex. So I'm waiting to see what they had to say. Right? Because if it was Freedom of Information Act, there was only like these little bits of information, and there were already things that you can see. So if you had asked for these records under Freedom of Information, that information is already something you could see online on va.com or some other site. I can't remember what he said it was. Right? But there were like 9 or 10 bits of information, but it wasn't the entire record. And he kept telling me it's not a database, it's more like a program. And this said, no, it's a database. So I started reading it to him. And he said, oh, you're talking about Privacy Act. And I said, yes. And so if you're doing this and you contact it, you're talking about Privacy Act. You want Privacy Act access to your records. Right? The purpose of VADER is to receive electronic military personnel and payroll information from the Department of Defense and the centralized VA system, and then distribute the data to other VA systems and lines of businesses who require the information for health benefits and eligibility determinations. This information is provided to VADER by the Defense Power Data Center. VADER will also provide veterans information concerning education, benefits, usage, and death, disabilities, as well as personnel and demographic information on veterans discharged prior to 1978 to DMDC for reconciliation purposes. Oh, you mean like my dad's, right? Serving the Korean War. I have his DD-214. I'll try to get his record. The VADER database encompasses veterans, service members, and their dependents. This would include current service members, separated service members, and their dependents, as well as veterans whose VA military service benefits have been sought by others. And I think this is what's happened, that somebody else has taken advantage of our benefits. We'll find out when I get it. So categories of records in the system. The record or information contained in the record may include identifying information, like name, contact information, social security number, association of dependents, cross-reference to other names used. Should only be one name used, but we know there's more. Well, they got a cross-reference. Good deal. Military service participation and status information. So, have you been discharged or not? Well, this is what it'll tell you. Branch of service, rank, enter, duty date, release, active duty. Duty date, military competent occupations, type of duty, character, service awards. A lot of this is things that you would find in your DD-214, but your DD-214 isn't the record. It's just a place where they grab some information and put it on the form that came from a record, right? We're talking about the record that the information came from to see if it's correct, so that what shows in the DD-214 is correct, or whatever other form it would be that would have it on there. Okay, reason and nature of active duty separation, combat environment, exposure, combat pay, combat awards, disabilities, line of duty, death, which is another one. They could have checked the box and said you're dead, and then they collect the insurance, right? So somebody's living on your death insurance. Put it in an account someplace, living on the interest. In case you ever come back and you're not, oh, here's your money. We thought you were dead. Apparently not. Physical examination board, serious, very serious injury status, DOD rated disabilities, education benefit, participation, eligibility, usage, healthcare, So DOD rated disabilities, I want to talk about that just for a second. Did you know that if you have a 30% VA disability, VA rated disability, that you can retire from the military? Right? So you would get VA 30% disability or whatever it is, and you would get your retirement pay. So all they got to do is give you a disability. Basically say you're 100% disabled because they took your name, and you can retire and get paid retirement pay. And I've shown before that there's this account called the military retirement, not account, military retirement fund. And that fund has like 1.4 trillion with a T, trillion dollars of paid retirement pay that's never been collected by the veteran. $1.4 trillion. So it's, the only reason that would be is because the veteran doesn't know he has it. I don't know any veteran's going to have his money sit in this account, right? I mean, we're going to take our money, thank you very much. No, there's $1.4 trillion. So some of that has to be mine. Right? Because at the age of 60, you can start drawing a retirement. Or it could be that they put you on medical retirement way back in the day when you thought you were being discharged. That isn't what happened. They put you on medical retirement. Or, God knows what it is. These are just different scenarios that it could be. And the only way to find out is get the damn records and see what they have to say. Information in this system of records is provided by components of the Department of Defense. So these are not VA records. This is coming from DOD. And then these are the different routine uses that they could be used for, which, that's for other people because we're the individual. We have our own thing, right? Policies and practices. Records are transmitted between DMDC and VA over a dedicated telecommunications circuit using approved encryption technology. Records or information contained in records are maintained in electronic format in the VADER Oracle database. These records cannot be directly accessed by VA employee or other users, right? So we can't change the data directly, right? So this is DOD information that, is encrypted and can't be messed with. And so if it comes to you and it's got an error in it, well, then the DOD has an error in your records. Data is provided between VADER and DMDC for reconciliation of records. I want a reconciliation of records or to identify retired veterans and dependents who have entitlements to DOD benefits but are not identified in DEERS. Right? And DEERS is the system that determines what style of ID card you get. And I know that I have errors in this kind of stuff, right? Because I have seen before where on VA records they have my birth date as September 1st. Well, it's September 5th, right? So error. Names are wrong. There's plenty of ways for the things to be wrong. It's just how do you find them to get a hold of them? Okay, electronic files are retrieved using various unique identifiers belonging to individuals to whom the information pertains, to include such identifiers as name, claim, file number, social security number, and date of birth. Records of this system are retained indefinitely until a record retention schedule is approved by the archivist of the United States. So once they go there, they're not coming out. Right? What's in there is in there, and it has to do with you, then we can get it changed. So record access procedure. Okay, pay attention. Individuals seeking information on the existence and content of records in this system pertaining to them should contact the system manager. It was Alex on the first page, if you remember, in writing as indicated above. A request for access to the records must contain the requester's full name, right? Full name, Rytlewski, Robert Allen, not Rytlewski, Robert A, or some other derivation. Full name, Rytlewski, Robert Allen, based on the definition of what a full name is. Address, telephone number, be signed by the requester, and describe the record sought in such detail as to enable them to do it. Okay, well, I get it. So, we have this information, so how would you identify it? Well, I say you identify it, the records, by this number up here. Right? This is the records you want. The Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, Identity Repository. System of Records number 138VA005Q. Hey, look at that Q on the end. Ain't that something? Contesting records then. Okay, individuals seeking to contest or amend records in this. All right, so I don't want to contest. I want to amend. I don't want to argue the fact. I want to amend the record. In this system pertaining to them should contact the system manager, be Alex again, in writing as indicated above. A request to contest or amend records must state clearly and concisely what records is being contested, the reason for contesting it, and the proposed amendment to the record. Well, to do that, we have to have the records. All right, so this is what I did, right? This said to contact Alex. So I did, right? Here's Alex. Here's his email address. Probably get a lot of emails now, Alex. Better get it figured out. How are you going to do this? Who did email me back a couple times and admitted that he got my request. He didn't use the name that I used for it. And then he turned me over to somebody else who called me yesterday. And now I'm waiting to see if he calls me because he said he called me back. I said it might take a day. I'll call you back. But he had to get with Alex to see what to do about getting Privacy Act records because he had never done it before. All right, so this is the one that has the information to do with Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense Identity Repository. And the other one I mentioned is, for whatever reason, I can't highlight this one. It's a little bit harder for me to use, but nevertheless, this is the Compensation, Pension, Education, Vocational Rehabilitation, and Employment Records. That -VA. Right? System of Record 58, VA 21/22/28. That's what it is. That's what you're asking for. And so this goes through and, gives you the same thing about what it is, what it comes from, and so forth. So let's just read a little bit. This system of records contains information regarding applicants for beneficiaries and beneficiaries of benefits chiefly administered by the Veterans Benefits Administration. This system is core system for VBA programs, so it's got to be correct. This system of records does not directly address health or memorial benefits administered respectively by the Veterans Health Administration or National Cemetery Administration, so they could have records also we're going to have to go look at. The other two of the three administrations within the VA. This system was first published in 1976, last amended in 2019 to reaffirm the establishment of the Veterans Benefits Management System, VBMS folder, as the official record for veterans claim processing, management, adjudication, and appeals, purpose, plan, so forth and so on. Right? Veterans Benefit Management System folder. These things are all electronic. They just should have to push a button and be able to send you your records. Shouldn't take forever. Right? So I'm going to find out about this folder. VA has proposed and update the SORN and so forth and Now you'll find different variations of the same information in the Federal Register for whatever reason, right? Because if they make any kind of changes, they got to put this in that they changed it, right? They have to go through the whole thing, say what it's for or why they have the thing in the first place. So, but these particular ones I'm showing you were the ones that were from the hyperlink from the Office of General Counsel's website. So I'm saying, well, those are the ones they say that they're using, right? So just use the one, go to the hyperlink, pull it off, and that should be the most current information that at least the General Counsel's using. Signing authority, system location, system name, compensation, pension, education, yada, yada, yada. That's what we want. All right? And now these are all the different categories of individuals covered by this system. Look at this, right? Not just one, not just veteran. Look at all the different categories of people. So you're going to have to, take the time and read through this to see if it might apply to you. I already know that it does. I'm a veteran, so I'm just going to say it does and ask for the damn record. Goes on and on and on. Okay, record source categories. Veteran service members, reservist spouses, surviving spouses, dependents, and other beneficiaries of the veteran, accredited service organizations, so forth and so on. It goes on and on and on. Social Security Administration, this is where all this information comes from, right? They get it some from the Social Security, Department of Defense, U.S. Treasury Department, state, local, county courts and clerks, federal, state, local penal institutions and correctional facilities, other third parties, and other VA records. I'm sure we find this thing, we're going to find out we're probably in some freaking penal institution. Local penal institution, right? Kent County is a local penal institution. Because the name of this county where I live, its name is Kent. And when it was organized as the county of Kent. So who the hell is Kent County? Right? Some kind of administrative agency or administrative creation. And I'm going to say, well, they created a freaking penal colony. Call it Kent County. Routine uses of records. Well, again, there's lots to read. But who gets to use it? You saw here law enforcement, DOG, litigation, National Archives, 17, 28. Look at all these places that get to use it. 41, 46, 47 of them. How many of them are there? 54, 58, 60, 74. Whatever all these paragraphs are, they all have something to do with this damn record. So it must be pretty important because everybody's relying on it. Look at how many, 93 different places are relying on this information for something. The name, mailing address, and other information obtained by VA pertaining to allegation, investigation, termination, misuse, fiduciary. By a fiduciary. Ain't that something? Policies and practices, retention, disposal. All claims file folders for compensation are electronically imaged and uploaded into the VBMSE folder. I want my VBMSE folder. That's what I want. The VBMSE folder. Okay, record access. Veterans and authorized parties have a statutory right. What kind of right? Well, a statutory right to request a copy of or an amendment to a record in VA's possession at any time under Freedom of Information Act and the Privacy Act. VA has decentralized system for fulfilling FOIA and PA requests. This type of information or records that an individual is seeking will determine the location to which the request should be submitted. For records contained within a VA claims folder, right, compensation, so forth, military service, so forth and so on, by the VA Records Management Center, authorized requesters should mail their Privacy Act or FOIA request to the Department of Veterans Affairs Claims Intake Center, For other benefits records maintained by VA, including vocational, employment, insurance, loan, education services, submit a request to the FOIA Privacy Act officer at the VA regional office serving the individual. So they have two different ways that you have to go to get all the records, it looks like. You have to send one to these folks here. We'll look at what that looks like in a second, but then you also have to contact your local VA regional office. And so, like for where I'm at, it would be in Detroit. Notification, contesting. See record access procedures above. Okay, well, whatever you just did, you'd have to go back to the same people to complain. Well, very good. Okay, so that's how that works. And then, and this one, because it didn't say, we'll talk to the system program manager. I had seen I had one email address here for further contact information. Contact this guy. So I contacted him, and he said to do something. I'm going to show you in just a second. He said to fill this form out here, right, which is the information instructions on how to submit a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, or Privacy Act request. What's a PA request? A citizen of the United States. Well, that would be me, right? It didn't say United States citizen, didn't say U.S.citizen, didn't say all these things that people are worried about. What it said is exactly what it says in the Constitution, where it would refer to you or me. You don't have to be, you don't want to. I am a citizen of the United States. Admitted for permanent residents may request access or amendment of records on himself from a system of records. Examples of PA records are personnel claims file, C file, education loan, verification, identity, and consent for PA requests only, right? Your full name, your date of birth, your place of birth, your current mailing address, and your handwritten signature is required. Note, to help us locate requested records, please include your Social Security number or alien registration number. And then it says where to send it. It gives a fax number. Okay, but then you go and look at this, and right away, they want you to give up your rights. At least that's what I'm like, because it says first, middle, initial, last. Well, if Robert Allen is my first name, then I don't have a middle initial. And luckily for me, Robert Allen could fit in this box right here. Then my last name. So if you can't get your full name in there, I don't really know what to tell you what to do, right? Just put it in and as much as you can. But I wouldn't put a middle initial. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of telling you have a middle initial. If you want to, go ahead. But someplace on here, you'd have to tell them that these are the records for last name, comma, first name, full name, Rutluski, comma, Robert Allen. You got to put your Social Security number, VA file number, which, in my case, turns out to be the same number as Social Security number. Your date of birth, your place of birth, which provide city and state, county and state, or city and country. Current mailing address, telephone number, fax number, email address if you agree. Right? If you're doing it for somebody else other than you, well, then you got to fill this in because, right? So if you're a dependent, you want to do it for somebody, then you would put their information in here. Your information would go here. Excuse me. No, I guess you wouldn't even do that. You'd put down here, request for information on a person other than yourself. So if you're doing it for somebody else, you're just going to fill out section 2. You wouldn't do section 1. Then it came down here and said compensation records request, so forth and so on, and what you're willing to pay, and I can show you mine on that. Hang on. Right, so compensation pension records requested. Well, you could check these boxes, or in my case, I said, well, I'm just going to check other and put in system of records and put in the number. That's what I want. But now that I've seen this new thing I was talking about, the file, e-file, I'm going to have to stick that in here someplace. And then the VA regional office, which I believe to be Detroit. I'm going to verify with them that it is. And then this is a Privacy Act request by the individual veteran, Rutluski Robert Allen, right? That's my full name, for copies of records maintained in a system of records, compensation, pension, education, vocational rehabilitation, employment records, incorporating his identity or personal data. Right? You want all the records that have anything to do with you. According to system of records, if you believe you're entitled to a fee waiver or expedited processing, do this. Well, according to the system of records, requester has a statutory right to this information and requests expedited processing in payment of, in the name of justice. Right? If I got a statutory right, I don't have to pay for it. You just have to give it to me. Yeah. So that's what I had found to do with these system of records that I didn't know to this level before. I knew that there was these things called system of records, but not that they were tied to the VA and not that they had, the process you're supposed to use to get the records. That's what I'm going to try to do next, and we'll see how that goes. So, but for today, that's what I can tell you, and I hope you found it useful. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye now.